Coming up next, we sit down with the Lieutenant Governor-elect in Delaware, and in Wilmington, Santa Claus drives a motorcycle. We'll explain. This is the Delaware Way. Welcome to the Delaware Way. I'm Larry Menti. We are proud to have today Lieutenant Governor-elect Senator Bethany-Hall Long. Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
There was a lot of people running this year. Why did that happen? It was just a fluke that there was so many people?
I don't think so. I think where it has an open seat. Whenever you have an open seat, there's usually a tendency to have a few more people enter the race. And I have to say, having 6 of us in the candidacy for primary for Lieutenant Governor on the Democrat side really, I think, made all of us think more, work a little harder, and at the end of the day, I think we all came up with some great ideas, and I look forward to carrying forward on some of those. Why
did you want the position? Because there's some that may argue you had a more powerful position in the Senate than as Lieutenant Governor.
You know, and those who go into public service for the right reasons, I don't think go into things for power. They go into it to make the change that they want to see happen. And for me, I had had a great experience in the House, then the Senate, and it was an opportunity to shift lanes, to influence public policy, which is important to me as a nurse and a university professor and researcher, to really take some of the information that I've been learning over the past few years about our great state and take that into the Lieutenant Governor's office to work with our next governor on things affecting our families, healthcare, addiction, issues with our economy. And so shifting those lanes from an elected Senate position to Lieutenant Governor will allow me that time to really focus and delve deeper, I think, into some of the policy issues.
I'm sure you've had the ability so far to talk with Governor-elect John Carney.
Oh, absolutely.
Have you had a conversation about exactly what your role will be?
You know, I think we'll be evolving. You know, our Congressman-elect, Lieutenant Governor-elect Congressman's been busy. He's still been down in Washington. And he and I have a long-term working relationship. When he was Lieutenant Governor, I was in the House. And I think that he recognizes that healthcare and mental health and addiction are certainly going to be issues important to me. And also working with him on our economics. Healthcare affects our economic platform. So we will, I'm sure, fine-tune exactly, particularly commissions or portions of the state that he wants me to focus on. And I made a promise to the voters when they went to the polls that there were topics of real importance to them. Not only the healthcare piece, not only economics, but also education in our state.
But he knows very well what you would like to do. Have you made it clear to him what you would like your role to be, or is that not how those conversations happen?
You know, those conversations will continue to evolve. You know, we just got through an election just a month ago. And as you know, you and I had talked about this earlier, you know, you do run separate elections in our state, which is different than some. And, you know, we are excited to, I'm sure, come together, and I'm sure I'll be focused quite a bit on the health of Delaware, education, early learning, as well as economics.
Let's talk about the Lieutenant Governor job, because the state has gone without a Lieutenant Governor for a couple of years, and there are some that would argue we didn't miss him. You know, we didn't miss anybody in that position. I hate to be asking a question where you're going to validate your own new job, but do we need a Lieutenant Governor?
You know, and I don't even think I have to validate it. I think the voters did. The highest turnout statewide proportionally was for the Lieutenant Governor's race of all the statewide seats. And I think that really tells people that individuals see a value. You know, we not only oversee the Senate, which we've had the opportunity, those of us in the majority who took turns to preside, also the Board of Pardons. I heard a great deal from individuals in the community who were wanting to make sure we had the Lieutenant Governor back to serve either on the committee or president of the Board of Pardons. But bigger than that, people really want someone that they elect. Obviously, God forbid something happen, the unthinkable, and somebody has to step into the gubernatorial position. And people connected with me as a nurse and as a mom, as a teacher, and they really felt very strongly that they wanted someone shifting lanes, very much focused, working hand in hand with the administration, with the General Assembly, who can reach across the aisle, work across the chamber, who can address those really important issues that we're going to face this year. It's going to be tough.
And I don't mean to overemphasize the point, but it'll be my last question about it. But you did talk about what you could do with health. You did make a lot of promises that you said you'd be able to do as Lieutenant Governor. Will you really have the power to do that?
I believe absolutely, because these are human issues, Republican, Democrat, male, female. Everyone's being affected now almost statewide, maybe not every family, but every community with heroin, overdose, substance abuse problems. We have to address that. State employee benefits, the #1 cost factor in our state is health care. Everyone has a real interest, and so together, collectively, myself, whether I'm sitting in a commission, whether I'm working, coming up with proposed legislation, sharing it with my colleagues, I feel really confident that we can really make a huge difference. Driving in here to the station today, I see people on the street corners are homeless that don't need to be there, and young individuals. We have a plan. During my race, I came up with a 4-point health plan, one of which is community outreach workers. So I feel really strongly that the proposal that I came up with during the Lieutenant Governor's race and going forward will resonate with my colleagues in the General Assembly and with the Governor's office.
When you're sworn in, when you become sworn in as Lieutenant Governor, there will be a special election for the seat that you held as Senate. And the Senate, for the first time really since 1973, has a chance of going Republican. How involved will you be in that race?
I think it's very important. The voters who believe in me and from my district were all excited that I was running for Lieutenant Governor. My highest turnout was in my Senate district, which is always a good sign from your home. And I think it's important that continue with the leadership of the priorities that Democrats value. And I know when the Senate shifted in 1973, J. Donald Isaacs, who switched that vote and moved that chamber, actually lives in Townsend, Delaware, which is a part of the MOT community. And it is very important that we continue to have, the Democrats at the helm, because we have so many pressing family, economics, healthcare issues that voters in Delaware believe in. If you look at overall plurality, we're a blue state.
Yeah, getting back, it's all related. It all gets related. Your role becomes very important with the Senate that close. Your role in presiding over the Senate, you could be in a position in the coming year to still be really in the Senate and to make a deciding vote.
Absolutely. If there's a tie, in Delaware, if there is this 10-10, we're going to need that vote to break a tie. So ironically, could continue to have more votes perhaps than any other previous lieutenant governor, and I think time will tell.
When we come back, I want to continue the conversation about health and specifically what you would like to do as lieutenant governor and how you plan to do it, but also about the uncertainty that is really over the entire country, but especially over states that have to pay for health care with the future of the Affordable Care Act up in the air. We'll talk about that with Lieutenant Governor-elect Bethany-Hall Long when the Delaware Way continues.